When you can't make it to City Hall or the school board meetings, local journalists from Duluth News-Tribune will be there to report the facts and get your questions answered. Local news works for you. Stay up to date at DuluthNewsTribune.com.
Hello, Northlanders. It's Friday, July 26th. I'm Wyatt Buckner, the Duluth News-Tribune Minute, presented by Minnesota Power Employees Credit Union.
The average MPECU member saves over $785 a year in better rates and lower fees. And with MPECU, every ATM is your ATM. With their free checking program, you get ATM fee reimbursements at any ATM anywhere in the U.S. Check out Minnesota Power Employees Credit Union's services online at mpecu.com or visit their offices in downtown Duluth, Arrowhead Road, or Miller Trunk Highway.
It's Friday, and if you're looking for some fun things to do this weekend, Duluth News-Tribune arts and entertainment reporter Jay Gabler has some options in this week's Best Bets.
If you are at all interested in Finnish culture, you are already aware that FinFest is happening right now in Duluth. You can check out our guide to summer weekends for more on that and other big weekend events, but here are a couple of more things happening this weekend in the Northland. With apologies to Minnesota's largest brewery down in St. Paul, tomorrow, Saturday in Duluth, marks the summit of the summer for upper Midwest craft beverage fans. All Pints North is set to fill Bayfront Festival Park tomorrow with over 90 breweries and many times that number of people eager to sample their wares. Of course, beer lovers won't want to wait to get the tasting started, especially those coming in from out of town who want to make the most of their limited time in our self-declared beer capital of Minnesota. That's where Bent Paddle Brewing comes in, hosting an All Pints Eve hootenanny tonight, Friday, with live music from Funkin' Spuds, Sugar on the Roof, and Theory of Light. That's tonight, Friday, at Bent Paddle Brewing in Lincoln Park. And they will be tapping some small batch pilot beers for those beer lovers who've tried everything, almost everything. Also this weekend, Wusso's Concert Cafe is celebrating a quarter century as a live music landmark in Spirit Valley, heading a little further west from Bent Paddle and Lincoln Park. And, well, how'd you think they were going to celebrate? With a concert. Over 2 nights, tonight, Friday, and tomorrow, Saturday, several acts will take the stage at Wusso's. Tonight's show features Woodblind, which is a band including cafe owner Jason Wusso himself, and then also a band called Truman Brasszilla and DJ Norby. Tomorrow, Saturday, you'll see If You Go, Super D and the Double Chucks, along with Emily Hart and Ian Alexi. That's at Wusso's Concert Cafe in the Spirit Valley neighborhood. This last one, you're going to have to hustle if you really want to get in on it. If you really want to show your hardcore cred as a patron of the Lake Superior Zoo. Zoolapalooza, big summer party, is coming up at the zoo next Tuesday, July 30th. But today, Friday, Gitchy Gumi Tattoo is holding a flash sale with select designs available at special prices with a portion of proceeds going to the zoo. So again, if you really want to show up at Zoolapalooza next week, flashing your permanent love of the animals they have on display there at Lake Superior Zoo. Well, what about a tattoo of Tundra the bear? That's just a suggestion. You decide how you're going to spend your weekend here in the Northland. For more on these and other best bets, check out DuluthNewsTribune.com. I'm Jay Gabler.
Now here's a look at today's headlines. Duluth is poised to pay $135,000 to settle a lawsuit brought by a West Duluth couple who said they were targeted by racist neighbors and repeatedly harassed by police. The proposed settlement going before the Duluth City Council on Monday would end a federal case brought by Aaron and Amy Kirk in June 2023. Chief U.S. District Judge Patrick Schiltz earlier this year dismissed the majority of the couple's claims, but did allow them to proceed with an allegation that Aaron, who is black, was discriminated against when he was arrested following an incident in which he was reportedly threatened by a white motorist in 2020. The settlement would resolve that outstanding claim, while also protecting the city, which denies wrongdoing, against potential appeal of the judge's ruling. The complaint had faulted the Duluth Police Department and the city's Human Rights Office for failing to address a long pattern of what was called, quote, objectively false police reports, express racial slurs, and open threats of violence, end quote. The couple said the harassment started around 2007 when Aaron moved into the Cody neighborhood home that Amy, who is white, had owned for several years without issue. At various times, according to police reports and the lawsuit, The Kirks were falsely accused of operating a meth lab in their home, abusing their 2 children, and stealing the neighbors' Meals on Wheels deliveries. At least 73 police calls were placed to the area of the home from 2012 to 2020, according to data obtained by the News Tribune. On several occasions, officers found the reports to be unfounded, but the couple said they continued to live under constant suspicion. They blamed police for failing to arrest, cite, or prosecute the neighbor for making false reports and threats, and said adequate steps were not taken to prevent responses to their home. In a March ruling, Schultz tossed 5 of 6 claims against the city and several current and former administrators and police officers. The judge said many of the incidents had occurred more than 6 years prior to the filing of the complaint and were therefore barred by the statute of limitations. He also cited evidence that, in more recent years, police had taken steps to ignore false reports and leave the Kirks alone. If approved by the council, the city will have paid out at least $825,000 to resolve police misconduct lawsuits this year. Jared File, who was shot through a door by Officer Tyler Libfried in 2020, was granted a $600,000 payment in June. In February, a $90,000 settlement was reached with Brandon Howell, who was dragged through the skywalk by Officer Adam Hout in 2017. The city is self-insured and pays settlements out of a liability claims fund. A bill introduced by U.S. Representative Tom Tiffany seeks to turn the Apostle Islands National Lakeshore into a national park, a move that would ban hunting on all but one island. While hunting and trapping are allowed throughout most of the National Lakeshore's 21 islands in Lake Superior and 12 miles of mainland Bayfield Peninsula coastline, the bill introduced this week by the Republican representing northwestern Wisconsin explicitly bans hunting if the area were to become a national park. The Apostle Islands would be Wisconsin's first national park. Unlike National Lakeshores and other National Park Service administered land, hunting is rarely allowed in national parks. Instead, the bill would remove Sand Island from its National Lakeshore designation and designate it the Sand Island National Preserve instead of including it in the proposed national park. Therefore, hunting would be allowed on the approximately 3,000-acre island. Fishing would be unaffected by the bill. Frank Lands, the National Park Service's Deputy Director for Operations, testified during a Wednesday hearing of the U.S. House of Representatives Subcommittee on Federal Lands that the bill was not introduced in time for the department to take a position. Lands said 2 issues need to be addressed. The first is to clarify the relationship between the proposed Apostle Islands National Park and Sand Island National Preserve. The second issue, he said, is the need for reinforcement of the Ojibwe Treaty rights. Part of the National Lakeshore is within the Red Cliff Band of Lake Superior Chippewa Tribal Reservation, and the remaining land are areas ceded by the treaty with the reservations to hunt, trap, and gather. The Red Cliff Band did not respond to the News Tribune's request for comment Thursday. U.S. Representative Pete Stauber, a Republican from Hermantown representing Minnesota's 8th Congressional District, and the other 4 members of Wisconsin's delegation in the U.S. House co-sponsored the bill. Now here's a look at your forecast, brought to you by the News Tribune's Northlandia podcast.
Happy Friday! Here's the forecast for the Duluth area. The heat will be continuing to build across the region today into Saturday, with mostly sunny and breezy conditions continuing through Saturday into Sunday as well. Afternoon highs today reach the mid-80s, with temperatures topping out in the upper 80s to perhaps near 90 degrees then on Saturday. Storm chances along a cool front arrive starting perhaps late Saturday, more likely then into Sunday and Monday with scattered shower and storm chances then. A few isolated chances for some rain and storms linger at times through the first half of the next week, though, before we dry out with warm temperatures persisting as well. I'm Storm Tracker meteorologist Robert Daly.
Thank you to the Northlandia podcast for their support. The bi-weekly podcast explores curious and unique stories here in the Northland. The latest episode explores the stone fortress of Douglas County currently for sale. You can find that episode and others at DuluthNewstribune.com, or if you also get this podcast. Reporting for today's episode was done by Tom Olson, Jimmy Loverin, and Jay Gabler. Thank you for listening to Duluth News Tribune Minute. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here on Tuesday.